on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm one of your co-hosts for the Sam and Sam Show, Sam McGinnis, and I'm very happy since hockey has started back up, and you all know I'm the hockey guy. I'd like to welcome on my other co-host, who's probably also excited due to the James Harden stuff going on right now. Help me welcome to the show, Sam Teets.
Yeah, it's great to be back on. Again, it's great to have you with another Friday night. And yeah, we're going to kick it off with the NBA. We'll start off some NBA news here on the Sam and Sam Show. James Harden is now officially a Brooklyn Net. And he forms a big three now with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving, by the way, going through his own drama right now. He's away from the team. He's going to miss some time, potentially have to deal with the quarantine period before coming back. So a lot of drama there in Brooklyn already. But you're throwing James Harden into the mix right now. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to pull up the article I wrote for the gruelingtruth.com, which is where you can find some of our podcasts and all the articles we write. I'm going to put up my article right now. Do a tweet that basically summarizes the trade entirely so far. So you got a 4-team trade because you had to make the numbers work. And with these kind of trades, financially, it takes a lot to balance them out. So this is the trade right now. Victor Oladipo, a former All-Star from Indiana, he's going to join the Houston Rockets. They get 4 first-round picks as well, 3 from the Nets. James Harden goes to the Nets. Pacers get Karis LeVert, and the Cavs get some role players and potentially a star in Jared Allen. So a lot going on here, a lot of moving pieces that I don't entirely expect you to fully understand. But just know that this is a mega deal. Just know this is something that we only see once every maybe 5 to 10 years.
That looks like a big mess, and I know my friend Zach Pearson probably he might not be too happy. I know he really liked Victor Oladipo. Pardon me, I cannot pronounce his name.
It's okay, Oladipo. It's okay.
But I wonder if he's upset about that. We'll see.
Yeah, but that's a massive trade. Like I said, there's a lot to think about now with the Nets. You have expectation at this point. You have those 3 guys, 2 of which are definitely Hall of Famers in Kevin Durant and James Harden because they're former MVPs. And Kyrie Irving will probably be a Hall of Famer. It's not that difficult to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So you got those 3 guys. Expectation at this point has to be championship or bust. And a lot of people are actually predicting that this team's going to fail because of the chemistry potential issues there. You know, the coaching staff with Steve Nash. There's a lot of concerns that the Nets might actually fail and have to blow this team up after a year or 2.
See, I was about to ask you how much do you think this increases their chances at a championship, but clearly you've made your point. You think it should be a championship then.
Oh, yeah, it has to be. It has to be a championship team. If you do not win a championship with this Nets team, maybe not this year because I understand there's an adjustment period. Even when LeBron went to Miami and made a super team with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, it took them 1 year. They went to the finals, they lost, and they came back and they won the next year. So I understand it might take you a year. I get that. I can be respectful of that. But if you don't win a championship in this team's existence, it's awful. I mean, that would be worst looks for a team in NBA history if you don't win a championship with these 3 guys. And also, because the Nets traded 3 future first-round picks to Houston, get James Harden, you don't have any draft capital in the future. So you're not going to be able to get better. If this team fails and you have to blow it up in 2 years, you're going to be stuck in mediocrity for the next 7 years or so. And also, you've given up a lot of your depth because you traded a bunch of guys away to get him as well. So you have sacrificed quite a bit to get James Harden, and we're going to see if it's worth it or not in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Here's the question I have then. Do you think it's worth it, number 1? And 2, do you think the team chemistry will work out in the end, or do you think it'll come out to a cancerous point and they won't win because of that?
So I think it's worth it. I think it is worth it because, let's be honest, Kevin Durant is not – he doesn't have to stick around. He has a team option, I believe, in 2023. He doesn't have to stay for that. Or he has a team option in 2022 perhaps. So he doesn't have to stay around long term. He's only here for a couple of years. Even Kyrie Irving's deal is not that long. So you are in championship win now mode. You want to win in the next 2 years to make sure that you get those guys to sign later. So you have to win, and you have to win now. And also with Kevin Durant coming off the Achilles, you don't know how he'll last late into the season. He might look great now, but by the time we're through 70 games, how is he going to look at that point? Because he is coming off an Achilles injury, something that a lot of players don't ever recover from. And he looks really good. But like I said, 70 games into the season, we'll see how he looks, and that would be a lot different than right now. And you got Kyrie Irving as well. He's had injury history. He sometimes vanishes for a little bit or sits out towards the end of the season just to get healthy. So I think getting James Harden gives you a superstar you can lean on if Kevin Durant's health goes sideways or if Kyrie Irving, for whatever reason, is not available. So I think it's a good move. Will the team chemistry work out? That is the fun question because I don't think it will. And here's why. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant played together in Oklahoma City. And they went to a championship that lost to LeBron James. James Harden just rejoined with Russell Westbrook last year in Houston. And they did it thinking that was going to work out well. Thinking they would enjoy playing with each other, thinking they would potentially compete to win a championship. 1 year later, neither of them are on the Houston Rockets, and they're not on the same team anymore. So James Harden thinking that maybe reuniting with former teammates who he had success with would be a good thing. Doesn't always work out. We already know that. And Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, they're all ball-dominant players. They all want to average about 30 points per game. You can't do that. It just doesn't work out. There's not enough shots to go around for all these guys.
There's not enough ball for all three of them playing.
There's not enough ball for all of them. There really is. There's not enough time in the regular game to get those guys enough shots to get 30 points per game. So it's someone have to be the bigger man and sacrifice. Someone in this group is going to be scoring 30 points per game. Someone's going to be scoring 25, and someone's going to be scoring 20. And no one wants to be the guy scoring 20. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
If it were to work out, who do you think would be the least selfish person of the group? If because somebody's going to have to, like you're saying, if what you're saying is true, who would be the bigger man if it were to work out?
Kevin Durant honestly would probably be like, if I had to put my money on someone who'd be willing to do it the most of that group, it probably would be Kevin Durant. Considering he's already played for a super team in the past, even though Curry with the Golden State Warriors was the one sacrificing when he was with them. It was Steph Curry being the bigger man who was sacrificing in that situation. And letting Kevin Durant come in and kind of play his role. However, Durant's been there. He's been to the top of the mountain. He's won a championship. He's been an MVP. So I think Durant would be the one who would actually take the step back and allow the other guys to flourish a little bit more. Although Kyrie Irving has won a championship as well, so you would think that he'd be willing to do it. The way I think it has to work out, because Kevin Durant is by far the best player there. I think Durant's going to be the number 1, Harden will be the number 2, and I think Kyrie Irving will be the number 3. I think that's probably how it should work out. I mean, James Harden is potentially a top 3 shooting guard of all time. And while I was saying Kyrie Irving is a great player, Kyrie Irving is not going to finish up as a top 10 point guard of all time. He might get top 15, maybe top 20. So Kyrie Irving is the weaker link here of the 3. And he's still a great player, but he's not the R2. I think Kyrie Irving has to be the number 3 here and take on more of a passing and facilitation role as opposed to a scorer.
And I think we got a comment here coming from YouTube if you want to pull that up.
Oh, yep. I haven't looked at the chat. Durant has already proven he can sacrifice stats when he went to the Warriors. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think Durant would be the guy to do it because he's been in a similar situation. I will point out, though, that Durant did win his MVP when he was with the Warriors, and Steph Curry was actually the one who statistically suffered a bit more on the shooting side of things because of that pairing. And so did Klay Thompson, by the way. It was both of those guys mostly. Kevin Durant, I still give him a lot of credit for working well with those two. But I think it was more the Curry-Thompson combination that was sacrificing statistically so Kevin Durant could thrive. But, I did have a list of top 5 teams in the NBA right now here. I'll just quickly run through it because I do want to get to the NFL here. I do want to move on, keep the show moving a little bit because I don't want you to get stuck with the NBA for 15 to 20 minutes because I could talk about this forever.
Come on, I'm not fair to you. We spend ridiculous amounts of time on the NHL. Burn me.
All right. Well, I'll go through the top 5 teams pretty quickly. Then I got number 1's the Lakers. I'm just going to pull up the records here, but I just think LeBron James, the defending champions. The only thing that could stop the Lakers right now in my mind was probably injuries, or if they just get really tired. I mean, just Lakers, like I said, they had maybe a month and a half off from the title game because we were doing this show back when they had the NBA championship. We had this show like the day before or something like that. They won the finals. So I think they might be a little worn out. And that might catch up to them in a 75-game season. So that could be the one thing that stops the Lakers. Number 2, Boston Celtics. I really like the young combination of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think that's a great duo, and they're going to get Kemba Walker back. That's even more scoring. The biggest concern for the for the Celtics in my mind, is they don't have a super strong center. They don't have a guy who like a Joel Embiid. They don't have someone who's going to match up against that kind of player. So to me, that's a little bit of a flaw they might have to worry about in the future. I think the Bucks are still a good team.
Quick thing
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to backtrack here a little bit to the Lakers. In the Nets. How do you think the Nets match up to the Lakers if they were to get to the NBA Finals? Do you think it's at least a good matchup?
I think that'd be a fun matchup. I don't know if it'd be a good one. Because here's the thing. The Lakers will be infinitely better defensively than the Nets. The Nets don't have a aggressive presence here. You gave up Jared Allen, who was your center, your rim protector. You traded him away in that deal that I had mentioned earlier. So it comes down to you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, like Joe Harris, James Harden. I got a bunch of guys who are not good defenders, basically. And you're going to go up against a team in the Lakers who have some very solid pieces, some of the best players in the world, frankly, in LeBron James, Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, and obviously Anthony Davis. So it's going to be very difficult for them to match up with those guys. And the Lakers, like I said, defensively, Anthony Davis is arguably a top 5 defensive player in the world. LeBron James is still a plus defender. I just don't think that they'll match up well defensively with the Lakers. So I think LA will win a series, but I do think the Nets would probably take 2 games from them because the Nets will score. When the Nets are hot, they will score like 130 points a game or something like that. They'll kill us, and they will blow opponent out. They just won't be able to do that consistently. So I think that the Nets could win a few games, but ultimately I would side with the Lakers.
All right, then.
Yeah, like I said, top 5 teams in the league. 1 Lakers, 2 Celtics, 3 the Bucks, just because Giannis is there, and Giannis, I think, is good enough to get them to maybe the second round of the playoffs, maybe the conference championship. I don't know if he can win an NBA title yet. Number 4, the Clippers, similar situation. Kawhi's there. Kawhi's very good. Paul George is there. Paul George got a lot of hate for the playoffs, but he's still a very good player. And there is some depth there, though a lot less than there was last year. And 5 is the Nets, because the Nets have, just on paper, they have a lot of talent. So I can't put Philadelphia. The 76ers have been playing well. I can't put them ahead of the Nets. I like the Phoenix Suns this year too. But the Nets right now have the best trio of players in the NBA. So I have to put them on this list. But like I said, working out how to play with each other, that will be very interesting. And there are a lot of egos in that team. It'll be interesting to see if that flares up and causes problems in the future.
Would you put the Nets higher if it was a pure, not necessarily like a power rankings like we're doing now, but if it was a pure talent-based ranking system, would you have the Nets higher?
Yeah, probably. And like I said, the Nets don't have a ton of depth here because they traded away a lot of their guys. But they still have like maybe 7 or 8 guys who I'd feel kind of comfortable with. I like Joe Harris. So I feel comfortable putting them in at least the top 3 if we're talking about just pure talent-wise. I think top 3. Up there also, the Lakers would be up there, the Celtics, the Bucks as well. You would have basically a lot of similar teams that we already mentioned here. But I think the Nets would be in the top 3 in that situation, if not number 1, because of the 3 superstars they have on their team.
Yeah, you had the trio with LeBron in Miami back in the day too. So maybe another trio could start some runs here. We don't know. Have to see on that one.
Yeah, it could be interesting, but like you can go back to that one. Chris Bosh sacrificed quite a bit. Bosh was like a 25 point per game scorer, and he went down to like 18 when he was with the Miami Heat. I mean, Wade went from being a guy who was scoring like 27 to scoring like 22 to 25, so LeBron could score more. So you have to make sacrifices when you're putting together a big 3. It'll be very interesting to see if James Harden, Kevin Durant, and guys who want to be the alpha dogs, if they're willing to sacrifice in these situations and help each other out a little bit.
Kids, be humble. It's good for you.
Yeah, and basically, that's basically what we're looking at here. Are you willing to accept not being the alpha dog championship? That's what's going to take.
Well, we got another question here. Do you think there's a chance the Nets look into trading Kyrie? I'm not the one that would know this. I think that's more your alley.
Yeah. No, I think the Nets will keep Kyrie because he's an all-NBA player when healthy. He averaged like 29.6 points per game last year, something like that, in a very limited span. But he did average a good almost 30 points per game. I think they'll keep him, but I wouldn't rule out them looking into trading him if his relationship with Kevin Durant gets strained here, and if he becomes the odd man out, and it's like James Harden, back here, they're working together well, but the offense is running that well because Kyrie Irving is causing some behind-the-scenes issues, or if he becomes too much of a distraction off the court, consider trading him. And I think it would be foolish to not look into trading him in that situation because you have to remain open to these possibilities that maybe this team is better off without Kyrie Irving. Now, I'm just saying that because I have to consider all possibilities. We haven't seen Kyrie Irving play a minute alongside Kevin Durant and James Harden together yet. So we'll look into that a little bit later. Ruling out the idea of trading a Kyrie Irving later in the year, things don't work out, would be foolish because you have to consider that if you're trying to build a championship team. Open, you have to field offers and just think about things.
All right, there we go. We want to move on to the NFL.
Yep, talk about the divisional round matchups.
I think we have a little bit of a mistake on the dock with division. Okay, you saw it. I was like, wait a minute. We.
Oh yeah, I did mess that up. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. I know I did screw that up. Nah, I messed the teams up. I was putting last week's matchups in for some reason. I don't know why I did that. But, all right, so the first game, we'll start with the AFC. And it's the Chiefs versus the Browns. So McGinnis, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think there's any way in this game?
Patrick Mahomes could get injured. Maybe then. The Chiefs are going to win this game. It's how much the Browns will put up a fight or not. Will the Browns get completely embarrassed, or will they make a good show of it and prove they're at least like a good team? Because I think last week, yeah, they won a playoff game, and you at least got some pride there. But at the same time, the Steelers kind of half gave that game to them. So it's harder to give them that to them, especially since it's a little bit less of a legitimate team than the Chiefs are. If the Browns were to beat the Chiefs, though, that would be quite something.
Yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs here as well, just like you. I do think it could be closer than some people expect because the Browns run the ball really well. They have a great offensive line, if not the best offensive line in the league. And the way you beat quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes is on the sideline. So if you run the ball and sustain drives to the Browns, you could win this game. But I think there's going to come a time where if they kick a field goal instead of a touchdown, that could be the difference maker. Trade field goals for touchdowns. I don't know if the Browns are going to finish drives, so I would lean towards the Chiefs here. And that known commodity in Patrick Mahomes, who is one of the best in the NFL right now. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think our Chiefs here.
Yeah, I think picking the Chiefs here is a smart move because Cleveland's clear point they have to mess up regardless of how good they have been this season, regardless if they smack the Steelers or not. So it has to happen at some point. All right, next match, Buffalo Bills versus Baltimore Ravens. This is my game of the weekend. I think this is going to be the best game this weekend. Sort of like Ravens-Titans was last week. I thought this was going to be the best one. And maybe it's just Lamar Jackson, maybe it's just the makeup of this Ravens team, but they seem to create these classic matchups.
Well, and this scares me, but the Ravens played good last week, and it is far more conceivable that the Ravens could beat the Bills than it is the Browns beat the Chiefs.
No, I'm going that one. I completely agree with you there. I think I actually I'm picking the Ravens to win this one.
I'm having
a great team. The defense is really, yeah.
I'm having a really tough time. I might come back to this one. This one's logged, but
yeah, this is a tough one. I will say this: Baltimore. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Baltimore has to score more than 20 points. They scored 20 points to beat the Titans last week. They're going to need to score more points. This Buffalo prioritizes throwing the ball versus the ball. So you can't just stack the box that they did against Tennessee and hope to win the game that way. You're going to have to do something in your Stephon Diggs and contain Josh Allen. The Ravens are smart enough. They have a really good coaching staff. So I think they can design something to limit Buffalo's offense. It's the question of whether or not Josh Allen is in that otherworldly class. If he's in that same class as Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, then no matter what you do, he's going to figure out a way to put points on the board. So I think it's going to be a huge challenge for Baltimore's defense. We'll see if they're up to the challenge round. They're able to contain Josh Allen. On an offense, Lamar Jackson, it's going to be those chunk plays, those 40 to 60-yard plays that could result in touchdowns that are going to make the big difference in this game. I think Lamar has to hit 2 or 3 of those if they want to win.
I think I'm going to go with the Bills here, but with a gut. For me, I was either going to pick or both the Ravens and or LA this weekend, but I think I'm going to side with the Bills here. I'm not sure if I totally trust Lamar Jackson yet, despite getting a playoff win. So I'm just going to kind of lean here on the Buffalo Bills for right now.
No, I mean, that's fair. I mean, Lamar Jackson has his flaws. I think it's fair to be a little critical and be suspicious of whether or not he can do it against a Buffalo Bills team featuring a quarterback who will throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns if he has to. So I think that's a fair criticism. The next game, this is also a very good game.
This is the fun one.
This is the fun one.
I've said it about 1,000.
So McGinnis is notoriously This McGinnis is notorious for saying that Drew Brees is going to fall off a cliff eventually, and he's going to predict it probably will happen every weekend until it eventually does, and he's going to say, yes, see, I was right. So I want to know.
Remember what I said last week?
This week, is this falls off a cliff?
Hold up. You remember how I said last week it was not going to be last week? You remember how I said
true.
that?
You did say that. You did say that.
Remember how Drew Brees did suck? Yeah. It'll be – here's the thing. He's not going to make it to the Super Bowl. It'll be this week or it will be next week. And I'm going to say it's going to be this week. And I'm going to say I'm going to have to watch Tom Brady beat Drew Brees in the playoffs, which is going to absolutely rip me to pieces because I freaking hate Tom Brady to pieces. But I trust Tom Brady in the playoffs more than I do Drew Brees. And as I've been predicting this for the longest time for Drew Brees falling off a cliff, you got to pick it at some point. This is that point for me.
How could you pick against Drew Brees, 42 years old, to McGinnis? On his ball things, you're picking against Drew Brees. How dare you? No, I'm picking.
I'm sorry.
I'm picking as well. I'm also going with the Buccaneers here.
Ooh. Oh, wow. And so you're going to put – see, he's trying to stay Drew Brees' friends here. He's putting it on me and then also picking the same team.
I'll just put all the drama on you and then I'll slide it in under here that I'm picking Drew. I'm picking the Bucs right now. I just think they are on fire. And Drew Brees, he's played well so far, but they didn't do that great against Chicago. They put up 21 points against the Bears team. And Bears defense, that's okay, but not fantastic. I don't know. I just think the Bucs are a better team than they were the last time they lost to the Saints. I think it's been a while since that happened. Let me look up the date, actually. When was the date of that game? That was November 8th. So it's been over 2 months at this point since that game. I think Tampa Bay is a much better team right now. I think they've gelled a lot more. I think you're seeing them use 2 tight end sets a lot more to protect Tom Brady, to help out in pass protection. Antonio Brown's gotten a lot better. He's improved in his role with the team. So I just think the Bucs are just better now than they were back in November. So I think they're going to be able to beat the Saints in round 3.
Here's the thing. The Saints may have beaten them twice, and they may even be better. But again, can you trust the Saints in the playoffs? The answer is no. Can you trust Drew Brees in the playoffs? The answer is also no. And I think this is a good matchup against them. So if you were going to pick a week, I think this makes sense to be the week.
Yeah, I agree. And the Saints have, on paper, and we mentioned this earlier on the NFL show, which you can check out on their Grueling Truth Facebook page with me, Steve Risley, and Mike Goodpaster, and our guest, Greg Gorecki. I think I said the last name right, hopefully. But
Greg came on.
What? Yeah, he came on for a little bit. So he finally got on. Mike's been talking about having him on for like 6 months now. So he finally got on the show. But we said that the Saints have the best team in the NFL on paper. And they do. They're loaded at every position. They have depth in the secondary that most teams don't even have in their starting lineups. So I think that is a factor we have to take into account here. But like I said, the Saints tend to mess up in the playoffs. It always seems to happen every year. Despite every year it should be their time to win the Super Bowl, it never is. And like I said, I just think there's been more improvement from Tampa Bay from November to now, whereas the Saints might have actually gotten worse or they just stayed where they are. So I think the team has improved the most, just going to win this game.
Please let us be wrong. All right, let's move on to the next game.
I wouldn't be that. If Tampa Bay lost, even though I would be wrong, I would not be upset.
Right. Yeah, please. This is one of those times I actually want to be wrong. Make me wrong, please.
All right, so last game we're going to talk about here, Packers versus Rams.
I
think this can go one of 2 ways. What'd you say?
I said this is a good matchup also.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a great matchup this whole week. And really, it filled with hope. Because after the college football playoffs where every game is a blowout, we need some playoffs where there's actually good games. So I could really appreciate the fact that we have really good games lined up for this weekend. If you ask me who would win a Packers-Rams game during the season, I would say blowout in favor of the Packers. But the more and more I look at this, the Rams have a very good defense. They're almost designed to shut down star quarterbacks and star receivers. I think the Rams could have a chance to slow down Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams here. The big question mark for Los Angeles will be Jared Goff. So they don't have John Wolford. He's inactive. So Jared Goff has to start. Blake Bortles is going to be the backup quarterback. And we know if Blake Bortles gets in that game, then a lot of things have gone wrong and the Rams are probably going to lose. But Jared Goff has 3 screws in his thumb. who's maybe 3 weeks removed from having surgery on that thumb. He's going to Green Bay, where it's going to be somewhere between 20 to 30 degrees, and there's a 50% chance of snow. I can't imagine that thumb's going to be very comfortable for the California quarterback. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all works out. I like the Packers in this one, but I think the Rams could really give them a run for their money.
So we got another question here, real quick before we get to mine.
Yep, I see that. Do you happen to know if Aaron Donald is still hurt from last game? So Aaron Donald had torn cartilage, I believe is what the official thing was. He had cartilage in his rib that got torn, or between his ribs, which it's going to hurt like hell. I've had some people with injury. I've talked to people who've had this injury. It hurts a lot. Things like, not necessarily breathing, but like deep breathing can be very painful at times. Laughing sometimes can be painful. It really varies depending on how much torn. So I can't give you an exact answer. He is hurt. And I don't think it'll be necessarily limiting in-game action because I'm sure they can get for the game. He probably won't even feel it. He might have a vest on as well to kind of protect that area. But if for some reason that like the painkiller wears off or he gets hit there, it could inform just because it will be like a nagging pain. Unless, of course, the painkiller gets administered and he just gets over it after that point. But this is something that usually is a very, very sharp, nagging pain. So answer, it could impact his performance. I will lean towards the end that I don't, but there's always the possibility.
Yeah, So I was thinking about either the Rams or the Packers on this one. Or pardon me, I was thinking about this game. And I remember we were talking about it on the NFL show, and we were talking about the defense and how it matched up well with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You've got Jalen Ramsey, who I would assume would be covering Devontae Adams the whole game. And that's quite possibly the best or one of the best corners against the best or one of the best receivers, so that'll be a fantastic matchup to watch. But I think I'm actually going to have to go back here and hurt myself. The Packers will win this one, and I think I'm going to choose an upset now actually for the Ravens to beat the Bills. I'm going to choose at least one upset out of all of these, and I think I'm going to have to go back because I'm having a hard time. Jared Goff beating the Packers? I don't know about that one.
The Rams beat them is the defense has to hold Aaron Rodgers to about 21 points. If you keep him at 21 points, there's a chance that the Rams running game with Cam Akers, who was very good last week, just enough to score maybe 24 points and give them the win. If the Rams are going to win, it has to be like a 24-21 kind of split. They're not going to score 35 points and keep up with the Packers in that area. So I do think, because Aaron Rodgers has been so good, hard to believe there's a defense on earth that could slow him down.
It's just, I feel like the Ravens is probably, if you were going to pick at least one upset, the Ravens would be the one of the week. And again, Jared Goff, how much you want to bet he'll probably turn the ball over during the game? I did like the way John Wolford was playing, but unfortunately he won't be playing for the Rams. And also, fun fact, since we were talking about Blake Bortles has more playoff wins since I think it was 2017 than Russell Wilson.
Really? Russell Wilson has one playoff win last year against Philadelphia. And Bortles beat, I want to say, two teams in the 1 year they went to play the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Yeah.
Yep. There was a few other big quarterbacks. I think it was pardon me, I'm drawing a blank. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan.
Yeah. So ergo, Blake Bortles is the future. But
that's not how that works.
We'll move on from here. Now that's what you're talking about again. Some brief NFL news I did want to mention here. We had 3 coaching hires that got brought up here in the past couple of hours, in the past couple of days maybe. Urban Meyer is the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was the first one that came out. Then Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, is now the head coach of the New York Jets. And Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, is now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. All right. My favorite hire here is Robert Saleh because he had the 49ers, a defense that did not have Richard Sherman or Nick Bosa from a year. performing like a top 10 unit, if not a top 5 unit in the NFL. So I think Robert Saleh is the most accomplished one of these guys in terms of the recent future or recent past. And I think he'll do wonders for the New York Jets. The one I like the least, I can't decide because Urban Meyer, he's a college coach. He's an old college coach coming to the NFL that's usually only embraces younger football coaches or younger college coaches coming up. So old, and you know what they say about old dogs and new tricks. They don't always work out. They don't always learn them. And I don't know if Urban Meyer can adjust to life in the NFL, so I don't really love that one. And our was a very good offensive coordinator in Tennessee because they had the offensive line and the running back to run a ground and pound style game that really worked out well. None of that in Atlanta. So I don't think that hiring will work out very well if he's trying to perform the same kind of offense that he did in Tennessee.
Yeah, so for all the people who like establishing like new systems, I just need to say this. You do what works with the team, not what you like to do.
Just tell it to Adam Gase in New York. Tell him to stop trying to whatever Adam Gase was doing with Sam Darnold or whatever he was doing, Ryan Tannehill, even going back to his Miami Dolphins days, clearly wasn't working. So I think their coaches just don't learn. They just don't. So I'm hoping Arthur Smith does, though, because I do like Matt Julio Jones. I'm hoping that Atlanta turns things around a little bit, makes that division even more competitive in the future. As for Urban Meyer, I hope it works out there, and I really like Trevor Lawrence, and I like some young pieces they have there in Jacksonville. I just don't think, Urban Meyer, come on. With all the health stuff he's had in the past, so he's had previous colleges, I can't believe Urban Meyer in Jacksonville is going to last more than 3 years.
Ouch. Ouch.
And it's not like it's not that I hate Urban Meyer or anything like that. It's just that I really, really don't think it's going to work out. I mean, he's not the kind of guy that strikes me as someone who's good at handling guys who are self-made millionaires, which NFL players are. So I just don't think that he's going to work with guys like that. And this is would like freak out or stress out to the point where if his team lost games, he gave himself sometimes he had to go to the hospital. You're going to be losing a lot of games with Jacksonville. You're going to be losing a lot of games, probably at least 10 next year. So if you can't handle losing 2 or 3 in college football, I can't imagine how he's going to handle it in life in the NFL.
Get used to losing. It's Jacksonville. All right.
I like this guy. Whoever's in the comments right now, I like him a lot. Another one says, I also think Urban was a mistake. I like this guy. He's agreeing with me on a lot of stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening.
And now we get to go to my end of the sticks.
Literally. NHL news.
Quite literally. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the NHL started up on Wednesday. I was able to watch the opening game, actually, with a buddy of mine, along with part of the game after that. And I'm going to take some quick notes, and I'm going to start with my Red Wings because they're my team. And I cannot express to you how disappointed I am with this team right now. Not because of the loss. Forget the fact that we lost. Forget the fact that we lost. The fact is, let me look this up. But for starters, Thomas Greiss played amazing. We've been talking about him. We were concerned, because new defense that sucks. And we were concerned that he wasn't going to do well. He stopped 40 of 42 shots. That is fantastic. You cannot expect or ask better from a goalie than that. Now, I want to put this into perspective because they had 40-something shots against, which is never something you want. Usually you want 20s or 30s. You don't want 40-something shots against. The Red Wings had 14 shots against Peter Mrazek the whole game. Listen, the average is in the 20 or like 20s or 30s somewhere. They got 12. 12 shots on goal. That is unacceptable. I don't care who you are. That is completely unacceptable. Our offense was dead. So now we've got a goaltender and no offense, so that's nice. And I am instantly sorry for ever predicting them to be better than the Blackhawks. That is going to be a mistake. In fact, the Red Wings could very well still be the worst team in the NHL.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I remember I think you had them second to last, actually, or maybe third to last. You had a couple teams below them there. And you don't seem to be believing that right now.
It was second to last. And I think, with the loss of Jonathan Taves, I was thinking maybe that would work out for the Red Wings in a sense of being able to move up, especially after getting Thomas Greiss. But looking at what we did last night now, granted, Hurricanes have a good defense. But come on, man. 12 shots on goal. I don't care how good the defense is. It doesn't even matter if that's the best defense in the NHL. By no means should you ever be having 12 shots on goal.
In your defense, the Blackhawks did lose 5-1 in their first game. You do have competition that what conference, what division is that? Central Division.
And we can move to that game real quick because that was basic domination throughout pretty much the whole game. But the fact of the matter is the Blackhawks have more life than the Red Wings do. There's no question about that. So for me, I gotta give the Blackhawks. I wish I could reverse it. Obviously, I can't. But the Blackhawks will be 7th or 6th in this division. It's just unfortunate that I made that mistake.
Yep, and you made it on a live stream, which means it'll be out there forever. So we get to keep bringing this up every time your team loses and every time you sink further down the standings. But this is going to be something
the Flyers, on the other hand, the first game, they won 6-3. The Flyers looked very good the whole game. They really were the better team than the Penguins. I know they're playing again tonight against the Penguins, and I predicted them to be first in their division. They're looking like they could be that.
And they're currently beating the Penguins 3-2, actually. So there's potential there. There's potential there.
All right. Let's see here. Did I miss any games? I watched for the people that live in Ohio that watch this. I know I'm from Ohio right now. So the people that are from Ohio, I watched the Blue Jackets game. Despite the fact that the Blue Jackets played better, they lost. So don't be too upset. I was kind of annoyed that they weren't scoring goals, but honestly, they played better than the Predators that game. So don't beat yourself too much. It's game 1. You've got 55 more to go.
Which team do you think looked the best in their first game of the season? Which team do you think changed your opinion on them the most from the first game at the very least?
Okay, changed my opinion on the most. Let me look at the games that were yesterday. Man, so that's okay. So let me tell you some teams that surprised me. First, the Canucks. They lost some pieces, but they've played well against the Oilers minus yesterday's game. Or pardon me. Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, they had a loss yesterday, but they won the day before. I think the Blues a little bit. Well, no, not the Blues. I think it's going to have to be I missed something here. Just a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Canucks, the Devils, by the way, pushed the Bruins to a shootout, which I think is hilarious. But I think I'm going to have to go with the Jets here. So the Jets, despite being down 3-1, were able to come back and beat the Calgary Flames, who I actually have winning that division. Might be a little ambitious. But, man, the Jets don't look bad at all. The Jets kind of surprised me. I think I have them 5th in the stand. I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly where I put them, but I had them missing the playoffs. But if they keep playing like they played yesterday, they could most certainly make it to the playoffs. And honestly, they came back from a deficit and kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, it's only one game into the season, so we're going to have a long way to go here before we actually know what these teams are moving forward. But so far, strong start to the season. Good to see them back out on the ice, and good to see we're actually having hockey played this year because, as we know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we weren't actually sure when games were going to start.
Yeah, and here's the facts. Every week when you come back to the Sam and Sham show, we'll have more content for you on the NHL than we do this week because, mind you, only a game or two's been played. The NHL started Wednesday. We're talking about it on Friday. Normally, you'll get a full week or so in between these shows. But yeah, the Jets surprised me. I was kind of disappointed with the Red Wings significantly. Again, 14 shots on goal or whatever is never acceptable. Ever. That's pathetic. I'm sorry. I'm so upset about this. If this entire season is going to be summed up by Thomas Greiss playing well and then the Red Wings losing, I'm going to be pissed.
It probably will be because they're from Detroit, so you know what's going to happen, right? Worst case scenario.
You cannot say that about the Red Wings, though. They won 4 cups in 2 decades, minus the fact that none of those were in the last decade. They've played well in a relatively recent amount of time. So if Yzerman got us a goalie, maybe he'll get us some more pieces for the offense in the offseason. If Thomas Greiss sticks around and maybe Dylan Larkin, there's a chance that you could build out of those 2 players at least having something.
You see what it is, McGinnis? That's hope. You're lying to yourself, and you know it.
It's hope. All right. I think we got in here to move on to, though.
Yeah, are we moving on now to are you doing a player comparison? Do you want to do that right now?
Yeah.
All right. So we got 2 NHL players here. I'm going to throw player 1 up, and I'll throw player 2 up right after that. So this is player 1.
Give him.
I'm going to tell you right now. I have no idea who this is.
I'm gonna give you a caveat. I'm gonna give you a caveat. These are 2 players that were recently traded, and all of these stats are within recent years, combined of recent years.
So is it last 2 years then?
Let me double check this real quick, but I think I may have skipped one of the recent years. I don't remember whether I skipped last year or not because one of these players got injured.
Okay.
That year, but it's of recent years. I combined I think 3 years was. So I might be able to figure it out in just a sec. No.
Don't stress too hard about it, I guess. Don't hurt yourself trying to figure this out. But again, this is player 1. I'm putting it with the bottom screen right now. Player 1.
Yeah. So I don't. Never mind. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, player 1's at the bottom of the screen right now. This is player 2. So I'm looking at it right, and player 2 has better numbers across the board. I don't know the positions though, so I can't really tell you much in terms of who would be the better piece to have.
Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a reason why this is here. So the first one, you can pull up the first stats. Okay, there they are. This is Josh Anderson. You remember how we talked about the Josh Anderson Max Domi trade?
Yeah, we did.
Pull up that second stat. That's Max Domi in recent years. Here's the fact. Josh Anderson scored 2 goals in his first game for the Canadiens. So despite Max Domi being the better player here in recent years, as we can see, Josh Anderson comes out ahead of him in this trade right now.
Yeah, it's only been 1 game, I guess. It's only been 1 game, but
it's just a thing to throw out there.
Yeah, no, it's just something to add there. I mean, look, times players ending up in new positions just energize their careers, and they have very good stretches or very good games, and maybe even very good seasons. You don't know what happens. Sometimes it's that change of scenery that just makes all the difference for these guys.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Max Domi starts to turn it around. I've been excited about this trade for a while now. Not that I am a Blue Jackets fan, but it's secondary to the Red Wings. I need to make that clear. But another option for the Blue Jackets to help out with the scoring, I think, is Patrick Laine. They're thinking about trading him. You need more scoring. And right now, if this continues the way it is, again, 1 game, but if this were to truly play out this way, you would have definitely lost the Max Domi trade.
Yeah, if it continues playing out in this way, I agree with you. Because obviously you said 2 goals in the first game. That's a ridiculous pace, though. You can't possibly expect someone to keep that up.
Oh, absolutely not. You cannot expect that from anyone. And heck, you can't even expect that from Connor McDavid.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. Connor McDavid had a hat trick the other day, didn't he?
He did. He had a hat trick, and this was the second game I was talking about. Remember, the first game they beat the Canucks, or pardon me, they lost to the Canucks 5-3. Second game they win 5-2, and Connor McDavid does Connor McDavid things. Now the Oilers just need to actually add depth on the roster outside of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Because after that, last year it goes to 30-something points a player. They were, I believe, they weren't bad in scoring or anything, but you might want to add a little bit more depth there.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our next segment, Thinking or Dreaming?
I think we are.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, this segment is basically we pose each other hypotheticals or questions here. We tell the other person whether they're thinking or whether they're dreaming, whether they're being smart or whether they're just being dumb. And we go from there, basically. And we go from there and we kind of evaluate it, break it down a little bit, give each other our thoughts on the situation. But I'll throw you my first question. It's from the NFL.
Okay.
So if Mahomes leads the Chiefs to back-to-back Super Bowls, he's already a top 20 quarterback of all time.
Already? Okay, here's the thing. You have to actually go out through the career and finish the thing. I think this is completely insane. This is dreaming.
I don't know that you have to if you win 2 Super Bowls right away.
Hold up. First off, that's a bad qualifier. I know everybody likes to put Super Bowls on for being the reason, but Nick Foles has a Super Bowl, and where is he? If here's the thing. If you were solely going to go based on Super Bowls, you just said Nick Foles is better than Dan Marino.
Well, hold on. You have to take the whole body down here. Mahomes also has an MVP. He's also got a couple of the best seasons of the past couple of years. So it's not like the Nick Foles where Nick Foles came for 6 games and was great, or 7 games. Mahomes has had 3 very good years at this point. So I think if he wins 2 Super Bowls in the span of 3 years as a starter, plus an MVP, plus the Super Bowl MVP, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, Sam. I think it's closer than you're allowing. It's a little bit closer than you're letting on.
Here's what I'll say. I think Patrick Mahomes easily has the potential to end up being the number 1 quarterback of all time, but it won't be in years soon to come yet, because you actually have to play through your career to get there. The fact is, he's not there. It doesn't matter what he does this year, because it's just not enough compared to everything all the other quarterbacks have done over many years. So I think it's just a little bit too early to react that way, but I think you're looking in the correct direction as him being on top of end of lists by the time he's done.
I think it's close. You're recognizing McGinnis. I think it's very I don't know, it's very close. I just understand what you're saying. I agree with you to some extent. Though I do think if you look at players towards the bottom 20 quarterbacks of all time, I think you might recognize he could be better than some of those guys, even already if he wins the Super Bowl this year.
All right, you want to give me your second one?
Yeah, Sidney Crosby has had a far better career than Alex Ovechkin. Thinking you're dreaming, McGinnis.
Ooh. Dang. So you're pulling up a rivalry here because Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin have been a rivalry forever. But you were saying having a far better career? Is that what you said?
That's the wording I used, McGinnis.
Once again, this is absolutely dreaming for a guy that's probably going to end up passing Wayne Gretzky for most goals of all time. I think it's kind of ridiculous to say that Sidney Crosby has had a way better career than Alex Ovechkin.
Really?
Not even to say necessarily that Sidney Crosby isn't better. I'm not sure on that one because they're both very good players. But even if he is better, it's not by some wide margin.
Okay, I think we can agree. Sidney Crosby's had a better career than Alex Ovechkin. We can agree on that part at least, right?
Again, he's going to pass Wayne Gretzky for most goals of all time. You realize this, right? He's not that far off. He passed Steve Yzerman, who is one of the greatest Red Wings players of all time. By the way, the Red Wings have been a dynasty for a long time until recent years. They've had 11 cups. So in that history, Steve Yzerman is one of their greatest players as a forward. Alex Ovechkin passed him in goals, has played, I believe, for less years. He's going to pass Wayne Gretzky. I don't know. This is close for me.
Are you sure he's going to pass Wayne Gretzky? I think he already has 100 Gretzky from what I'm looking at.
That has to be incorrect because Wayne Gretzky, he's still a little ways off from Wayne Gretzky. I don't know what you're looking at, but that's not right. Maybe
you are correct. I am looking at the wrong number. You're right. I'm looking at the wrong number. I am. I screwed that up. So Wayne Gretzky has 894 career goals, and Ovechkin has 706.
And Ovechkin's in his mid-30s. He'll play for another, maybe 5 seasons or more. In that time, he will get those goals.
All right. If you say so, McGinnis.
So there's our little little thing on that. But here's mine. And you kind of I kind of already know the answer to this since you mentioned a little bit about it earlier. But the Jags will still suck despite getting a new coach, Urban Meyer, and probably Trevor Lawrence.
Yes. The Jaguars have 11 picks in this draft, I'm pretty sure, and over $100 million in cap space. So they have a lot of room to improve this offseason. I'm just not sure that you're going to sign any big-ticket free agents because Urban Meyer's your head coach. I don't think that's very attractive. And you can get Trevor Lawrence. And look what happened to the Bengals when the Bengals got Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow came in. He played decently. He was not fantastic. No matter what anyone tells you, he was not terrific immediately. He was 2-7-1 in his first 10 career starts, and he got injured and was out for the rest of the year. 13 touchdowns, interceptions. If Trevor Lawrence matches that, you're still going to have mostly lost and only win 4 or 5 games. And you're still going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Even if you hit on a couple of draft picks here, even if you sign one to see, you're still going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And you probably won't finish last in the division. I imagine they'll still find a way to be better than Houston because I think Houston's going to go down next year than they are this year. But I can't. No, Texans are going to be awful with or without Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's great, but they're going to be awful.
Deshaun Watson, get out of there. Get out of there as fast as you can. Run.
Yeah, and Deshaun Watson seems to be forced. It sounds like Deshaun Watson wants to force the issue here, if not to just have leverage on them and force them to do something just to help him out because he needs a lot of help right now. But no, you're right. You're absolutely thinking the Jaguars are still going to suck next year, and it's not going to be the fault of any of the players or necessarily even the coaching staff. Just take time.
Unless you're like one of those miracle stories that's like of the St. Louis Blues where they were like dead last to first in the same year. This is not a normal thing to just do that. I'm going to switch this one up because we kind of answered this already. So I'm going to say this instead. The Brooklyn Nets will get to the NBA Finals.
All right, so you are thinking because this could, like I said, this is the best collection of 3 stars in the NBA right now. But this is absolutely dreaming. It's never going to happen. They're not getting out of the Eastern Conference. I'm not even sure they're going to make it to the end of the season the way things are set up right now. It's just a situation where you have 3 dogs in a room, and there's only a limited amount of food for those 3 dogs. One of them is not going to get to eat and is going to die. So it's a very tough situation. Like, and that's just maybe not the best descriptor I could have gone with there. Maybe a little too morbid, but it's just a situation where.
Oh, our network is literally called The Grueling Truth. Are you really concerned about being morbid out here?
I guess you have a point there, but realistically here, I think the Nets are on paper a very good team, but we've talked about this with the Saints. On paper doesn't mean anything. So there are teams that have better chemistry right now. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks will be better by the time the playoffs come around. I think the Philadelphia 76ers have a chance to be better than the Nets by the time the playoffs come around because the Philadelphia 76ers have a lot of depth right now. I don't know about the Miami Heat because the Miami Heat struggled early on, and they've had some injuries. The Indiana Pacers look right now. The Boston Celtics to me are my top team in the East right now. So I think there's a chance the Nets make it to the Eastern, but I think it's a stretch to say they're guaranteed to make the NBA Finals.
If you had to pick a team to come out of the East, then
Boston. I would still go with Boston. I just like Jason Tatum a lot. But anyways,
I think we got one last segment. Yes.
Yeah, one last segment here. Wrap it up real quickly because we do have to be off of here by 8:00, so the next thing that Mike has set up can run. So we're gonna go with the flex of the week, and we've done this once or twice before, where we talk about just something when someone's flexed on someone else, basically an epic showing of power and strength by a professional athlete. So Odell Beckham Jr., who's a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, who won't be playing this weekend, tweeted out telling fans they should not be surprised if the Cleveland Browns beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes, the starting MVP, future top 20 quarterback of all time, once he won the Super Bowl this year, went and liked the tweet. He has since unliked the tweet because it caused a little bit of drama and caught a little bit of attention on Twitter. But that's tweet, stupid. And there's photographic evidence of it.
I'm sorry. It's stupid that people gave him crap for liking the tweet, but I think the stupider thing is the tweet in the first place. Because here's the thing. I'm not much of a person that appreciates trash talk in general or before games. I'm just kind of a grumpy old guy like that. Just because I don't like the arrogance behind it. Even if you're let's say even if you were Tom Brady in his prime, you still have a decent chance of losing. And even if you don't, you can embarrass yourself very easily by being an idiot like that. Especially if the Browns get owned this weekend. OBJ is going to look like an idiot. Not that that's the first time that's happened or anything. But
yeah, as a Steelers fan, some viewers might understand this. I get what it's like when your wide receivers talk trash and then you get owned and it looks bad for them. I understand that. It's happened quite a bit recently for Pittsburgh. So I understand that this could go badly. And for Patrick Mahomes to go out there and encourage and kind of poke fun at Odell Beckham Jr. like that, I think that's a little move. And that is our flex of the week. Now, I'd like to give everyone a quick reminder. You can find all of our previous podcasts on Facebook Live, the Grueling Truth Facebook page. And you can go to thegruelingtruth.com to check out all of our articles that McGinnis has written for the NHL, that I've written for a multitude of sports covering the NBA, college football, and the NFL. And we do have a new sponsor, Path of Purity, for replenishing care. I don't know the full read yet. I'll admit I haven't memorized it yet. So I will get back to you over the next show with a better read, more so than just a URL. But for now, you can check out this website down here. It's CBD products and stuff like that for painkiller, basically pain. If you're dealing with any kind of pain right now or serious pain trying to recover from injuries, this could help you out. Maybe give it some consideration here. But McGinnis, we got 3 more minutes here, but I think we covered everything we want to today.
Yeah, and just a quick thing. I know we do this on the other shows, and we really haven't done this on this show yet, but you can find me at SamuelMcG22 on Twitter. I probably tweet the most about the NHL, so if you're a person that needs to get into hockey, because most people do, because most people don't, here, just my one challenge. Watch a hockey game and then thank me later. That goes for you too, Teets. And then you can find Teets at
Sam Teets 33. Yeah, like I said, I tweet out all my articles, tweet out polls, stats, all kind of interesting stuff. I'll retweet a bunch of main accounts as well with a bunch of news. So it's just a place to be, a bunch of basically an archive for all the interesting sports stuff in the world. So you can check me out, Sam Teets _33.
All right, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, thank you all for listening to the Sam and Sam Show. We'll be back next Friday. Back at our usual time at 9:30. We'll make sure we're scheduled and we're penned in that time so Mike can't take it from us and give it to some kind of boxing rerun or something like that. But for now, thank you all for listening. We will see you all next week. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe.